This is a special video I want to share with you guys today, because as you can see, that I don't have a fancy background, I don't have fancy lighting. If you could see my camera, it's on a stack of boxes, not a tripod. And it's because I want to share a practice with you that I feel a real sense of urgency about. So, as maybe some of you know, I teach yoga, mindfulness, and meditation for psychiatric hospitals here in the Seattle area. And there's a technique that I've started to use that I learned from my teachers. It's kind of an amalgam of different techniques that I've learned from teachers like Tara Brach over many years. And it's about coming into contact with our suffering and our pain as a way to transform it. And this has been unbelievably effective once I got up the courage to start sharing it with my yoga students who happen to be in inpatient psychiatric hospitals. So it's a disarmingly simple and effective technique. It's based on the principle that you have to feel it to heal it. In other words, and again, you have to feel it to heal it. And that means that we can't pretend if we want to be on the path toward healing. Being on the path toward healing, in other words, being on the path to being the wholeness of who we are, requires us to have the courage, and it takes huge courage, to really come into contact with our suffering. So we'll begin the practice, and I will also lead you through, as an example, doing it for myself in real time, because I've also found that to be very healing for the groups I work with. So start by finding a comfortable seat in a chair on the floor and tune into your own breath. Notice the quality of your own breath. Right now I'm nervous, so my breath is faster than usual and my heart is beating, and I'm noticing that. And as you tune into that breath, begin to, with great gentleness, deepen the inhales and release complete exhales. And the process that I'll lead you through now could be extended to a much longer meditation, and ideally it would. But for time's sake, I will compress it a bit. So I'll go through the steps quickly. So when you're doing this on your own, I recommend sitting longer and sending more breath and having more time for silence. So the first step is to notice, really listen to your internal state. Feeling whatever emotion is strongest for you right now, and perhaps it's a difficult emotion. It could be anger, sadness, rejection, grief, loneliness. Or for me personally, I notice anxiety. And that's step one, is to notice the feeling. And step two is to do something that in American culture, every single thing tells us not to do. And that is to lean into and to accept what that is inside of you, instead of trying to cover it with a smile or a giggle or make it better or ignore it. And how we do that is you keep that feeling right there in your body and send more breath to it. And a guiding principle of this practice is that the more descriptors we can place on the feeling that might seem overwhelming, the less overwhelming it becomes. So it's very helpful to listen to that feeling and see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color or a shape comes up, for example. And see if a color A highly effective technique is to notice if that feeling has a home in your body. For many people, it is in the stomach or the heart or someplace like that. So for me, this anxiety sits right here. And as I continue to breathe into that very deeply, I continue to send attention to exactly what's there. And the really counterintuitive thing and the most healing thing we're going to do right now is to allow that feeling, that shape, that color to expand into its fullest form. With each inhale, allowing that feeling, whatever it is, to grow as big as it wants to go. And it might fill your body, it might fill the room, it might fill the house, it might fill the town or the universe. And sit as an anchor for all of that expression. And because this is a mindfulness practice, the job that we're doing here is to allow that to be that way without reacting to it. We breathe and we notice it. So I'm allowing that anxiety to fill the whole body with my breath. It's very important to keep the breath moving. To allow whatever emotion is present for you to fill whatever space it needs to feel and fill. Keep breathing. And direct your attention in a way that you can notice if it's changing. If it were to tell you something, what would it say? Does it have a story to tell you? And as if you're digging into the ground to expose the roots of this feeling, you might feel into what is below the surface presentation of that feeling. So for me, at the heart of this anxiety, I have a value to speak very clearly. I have a value that my productions are as perfect as they can be. So I'm digging down, and I dig down even further, and I feel that I have so much fear of not creating perfect productions. When I dig down even more deeply, I realize that I fear that my entire identity is what I produce, and that in essence, I fear that I am essentially not worthy, that I have to prove that with my productions. And as you dig and you make discoveries, just like I made the very emotional discovery that I just did, and that was totally on the fly, notice what other emotions you might have surrounding those discoveries, and do your best to not judge yourself, to hold all of the layers that feeling that we might have thought was simple. All the layers, they have their reasons for being there. And as you continue to have your hand on whatever space where that feeling lives and breathe, continue to feel rooted through the tailbone and tall in your spine. And I encourage you to sit like this, to write, to draw, to paint your discoveries through this process after you complete the meditation. I encourage you to sit longer beyond the span of this video. And when you want to seal your practice, a gesture that I've found my own students in the hospitals find really moving is when we expand our arms out and know that we have all the capacity in our own hearts to be filled with all of this emotion. We have the resilience in the face of all this suffering. We have all that we need. We must only believe it. And then as you bring your arms in and give yourself a hug, and breathe. Hold yourself and know that you are here for yourself. You've got this. And you can stay there for as long as you like. Thank you so much. Namaste.